Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amongst the seven jurists of Medina, there is one who it was a foregone conclusion that he would reach the pinnacle of greatness and knowledge from before he was born, based purely on who his parents were. That Imam's name is Imam Khaarijah ibn Zayd ibn Thabit radiyallahu anhu wa Rahimahullaah. It was from a home of knowledge and greatness that Imam Khaarijah Rahimahullah came, because first and foremostly, his father was the great Sahabi Hazrat Zayd ibn Thabit radiyallahu anhu, who was one of the scribes of Wahi. Thus, as the Quran would be revealed, Hazrat Zayd radiyallahu anhu would write it down. And thus, later on in life, when the Qurra of the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum were taking part in the jihads and being martyred, then Hazrat Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu called on Hazrat Zayd ibn Thabit radiyallahu anhu to compile the Quran into the Mus'haf form that we have today. Because there was no paper and books in Arabia at the time, so the Quran used to be written on pieces of parchment and leaves and so on. So being a Hafiz of the Quran and a scribe of the Quran too, Hazrat Zayd radiyallahu anhu was entrusted with the enormous task of gathering the Quran into one single book form. The brilliance of Hazrat Zayd radiyallahu anhu can also be seen from the incident when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him to learn the language of the Jews. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam could not trust the Jews to write letters or translate letters truthfully. Hazrat Zayd radiyallahu anhu got to work learning their language, and within 15 days he had mastered the language, being able to read and write it fluently. Besides this, the knowledge of Hazrat Zayd radiyallahu anhu was attested to by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was speaking about the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum and said, وَأَفْرَضُهُمْ Zayd ibn Thabit, meaning the Sahabi with the most knowledge of Fara'id is Hazrat Zayd ibn Thabit radiyallahu anhu. Fara'id is the Shari'i term used for the science related to the distribution of inheritance, as there are a lot of subtleties involved. And Hazrat Zayd radiyallahu anhu was the most knowledgeable in this regard. As for the mother of Imam Khaarijah rahimahullah, then she is Hazrat Jamila binti Sa'ad ibn Rabi' radiyallahu anhuma. She is well known by her kunya, Sa'ad, and she herself was a faqihah as well. And her father was the great Sahabi Hazrat Sa'ad ibn Rabi' radiyallahu anhu, who was one of the martyrs of the Battle of Uhud. So it was into this home of greatness, where both father and mother were fuqaha, that Imam Khaarijah rahimahullah was born in the 29th year after Hijrah, during the Khilafah of Hazrat Uthman radiyallahu anhu. Imam Khaarijah rahimahullah studied under both of his parents, as well as other Sahaba like Hazrat Usama ibn Zayd radiyallahu anhu, Hazrat Sahal ibn Sa'ad radiyallahu anhu, and others. And therefore, it wasn't long before he rose to prominence, as he imbibed so much of the knowledge of his father that he became an Imam, the son of an Imam, and a Faqih, the son of a Faqih. Imam Khaarijah rahimahullah was a muhaddith like the rest of the jurists of Medina, but he played a slightly different role to the others, because where they generally were more involved in the narrating of a hadith, Imam Khaarijah rahimahullah was more into fiqh and fatawa, as people would specifically seek him out, traveling to him to ask their questions. Imam Khaarijah rahimahullah had another major function too, and that was due to the fact that he inherited from his father that mastery over the science of inheritance. So whenever people had inheritance queries and arguments, then they would go to Imam Khaarijah rahimahullah, and he would give the verdict according to the Sharia regarding who all are to inherit and how much they will inherit, along with who will not be inheriting due to other heirs being alive. Often the inheritance of people would be pieces of land and orchards or a grove of date palms or houses, and Imam Khaarijah rahimahullah would be able to accurately divide up anything he was asked about, leaving the people satisfied that they had gotten what was due to them without anyone being deprived in any way. Thus, whenever Imam Khaarijah rahimahullah would give his verdict, then everyone would accept it, and there was not a layman nor a scholar that would find fault with the judgments of Imam Khaarijah rahimahullah. Imam Khaarijah rahimahullah was held in high regard by everyone, including the rulers. For this reason, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz Rahimahullah wanted to have a special amount of money allotted to Imam Khaarijah Rahimahullah, which was more than the other muftis of Medina. But Imam Khaarijah Rahimahullah was not a person to take special treatment. So he went to the governor of Medina, whose name was Abu Bakr ibn Hazm, and told him, I do not like what Amir al-Mu'mineen Umar ibn Abdul Aziz Rahimahullah has done, because I have peers. And if he is going to give to all of them this money, then it's fine. But if he wants to give for me only, then I don't like it. So the Khalifa Umar ibn Abdul Aziz Rahimahullah sent a message back to Imam Khaarijah Rahimahullah, saying that the wealth of the state is not enough for all of them. But if there were to be such money, then I would have done so. Imam Khaarijah Rahimahullah had many students that studied under him, and he would spend his time teaching along with seeing to the affairs of the Muslims. And because Imam Khaarijah Rahimahullah was a person of great piety, therefore his days were filled with the worship of Allah as well. At the age of 70 years old, Imam Khaarijah Rahimahullah saw a dream. In the dream, he saw himself building a place having 70 stories. And after having completed the 70th story, the building collapsed. So Imam Khaarijah Rahimahullah interpreted his dream as being about his life. So he said that I have completed my 70 years this year. And thus it was that very year, which was the 99th year after Hijrah, at the age of 70 years old, that Imam Khaarijah ibn Zayd Rahimahullah passed away. All of the 7 jurists of Medina were great, pious and knowledgeable. And while they may have some differences between them in their field of specialization, the common thread that binds them all together is their piety, their knowledge, and their love for the deen of Allah. May Allah make us people that follow along in their footsteps, being people that bring Islam alive in our lives, and not just be mere lip service that we do. آمين يا رب العالمين وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.